Oh, it did sink.
Oh yeah, yeah. The only reason it didn't is we tied it off to Gary's boat. We had to airbag it. We had to airbag it as they were taking them off. The boat was sinking, and what he did is Gary Lewis stowed a real high volume water pump in here and kept pumping the water out so the boat wouldn't sink while they took the people out. Towboats US kept the boat from sinking so they could perform the rescue, basically. Yeah, I can. I don't have my multi-tool. We have eyewitness to that. We have eyewitness to that security guard. I mean, I got a written statement from him and all work, so I got something to fall back on. All right. I think it didn't have any lights on. No. Anything that was bolted down, I think more concerned about them than anything else.
The throttle wide open?
Throttle is wide open. So that's why making the driver identification was pretty easy. He was still trapped under between the seat and the steering wheel. Plus he's arguing with them that this is his boat. He was arguing with Scott, the paramedic. Right here?
Right in front of the fire extinguisher. Upside down?
Along the store. But we know, tell him where that's. I see another Miller Lite can of beer in there too. What's on board?
Crazy with it.
And that would give you the fine. Was Gary Lewis saved his boat from sinking by throwing a high volume water pump in it.
Okay, first of all, name?
Lieutenant Dubose with Precinct 1 Constable's Office, Marine Division.
D-U-B-O-S-E?
D-U-B-O-S-E.
Okay. Tell me what happened last night. Kind of run it down from the beginning.
At around 2:45, Montgomery County dispatcher received a 911 call from the security guard at Bentwater saying a boat had hit the bulkhead at the marina. And all the emergency responders responded. Precinct 1 responded. Towboats USA, Gary Lewis responded. They heard the broadcasts go out. District 5, Montgomery responded. Fireboat 94 responded. Several units responded by ground, 2 fire trucks and 2 MES ambulances, because he told them there was multiple people in the water. Come to find out there were 2 people ejected into the water, 4 people still inside the boat. Marine Division got called out. I got there at approximately 3:15. Took about 12 minutes. The driver was still pinned in behind the steering wheel up under the center console when I got there. His name was Joshua Butler. The ones ejected were Brittany Michelle Wade, and Carl Millard, and 21 and 22 years old. They walked away without much of a scratch. They're stove up and everything, but they actually flew over the retaining wall out of the bow of the boat about 120 feet from where they showed us, or where the impact was. Where I stopped. Two that got ejected.
Okay, yeah, you got 2 ejected.
Okay, 4 still in. Serious trauma, leg injuries. One's got a broken jaw. The driver has a broken jaw. His aunt said he may lose some of his teeth. The female in the back left was 9 months pregnant, and she was still in surgery at Herman Hospital when I checked about an hour ago.
So almost 12 hours into it.
Yeah, almost 12 hours into it, she was still in surgery. Her husband, which now I'm talking about Timothy Emery, and her name was Amber Davis, is in surgery. Timothy Emery is in ICU in Herman, listed serious but stable. She is still listed very critical, and they wouldn't give me a determination on the baby.
Now she was 9 months. She was full term.
She was due Friday, full term, this Friday, and so if the baby hadn't come by this Friday, they were going to take the baby. And it's what the family is telling me.
What about alcohol?
So there was indications of alcohol in the vessel itself. There's empty containers of alcohol. There's some controlled substances found on board. We have not subpoenaed any blood tests or blood results, in which we will on the driver and the various injured people to see exactly what they had in their blood. The boat was involved in the 2 prior disturbances earlier that morning, confirmed by eyewitnesses.
Disturbances meaning?
Noise disturbances. They had a super loud jam box system on one of them, and then they got into a disturbance with people fishing somewhere near the Shell McDonald's on 105 West.
So basically 6-7 miles from where this happened.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the statements I've received from the male that was Jeffrey Mallard, he confirms everything there, and there was no physical assault. It was only verbal altercation. And then they left and went to an island to swim for a while, Ayers Island. They left Ayers Island en route back to Bentwater. That's when the security guard says that he heard a boat coming, but he couldn't see anything. They were running without lights. A good indicator of that's the filaments in the bulbs. I've checked the filaments in the bulbs; they're intact on this boat, which means it's not a 100% proven science. But usually, with the impact that this boat sustained, it would have knocked the lights out. The filaments would have broke, because they're a lot more fragile than the fiberglass is.
With the heat and everything.
Right, absolutely. And the security guard, he says he could hear this boat coming, and it sounded like it was coming full throttle, but he couldn't see it. And then he seen and heard the impact at the same time, and it was only about 150 feet from where he was standing. And so it was a little bit hazy, but it wasn't too cloudy. And so he couldn't tell where the boat's coming. It's a red and white boat, but we're talking about 3 o'clock in the morning, 2:45.
Now throttle still and full throttle.
Full throttle. The damage. One of the, I don't personally know, but one of the game wardens estimated between 40 and 50 miles an hour.
Yeah, dead solid stop all of a sudden.
Solid stop. It was hung on the retaining wall. The only reason the vessel didn't sink is Towboats USA put a high volume water pump in it and was pumping water out while they were rescuing the people. And so it would have, otherwise it would have sunk. He put the high volume water pump in it. To get it out on land, we had to airbag it, put airbags on it, float it on the trailer. It's that much damage to the hull and the structure.
Well, it kind of run out. Years ago, there was a pretty bad accident with
The Hart family.
Yeah, the Hart family. How is that parallel with that one there? I mean, as far as the type of damage, the type of injuries,
That's good. Serious damage. There was deaths in the other one. Death in this one is not apparent yet, and I say yet because I don't have the full status on everybody. I mean, anytime people are taken to Herman Hospital and they call for life flight but they didn't use it, then it's a serious in nature. Anytime somebody's listed critical and in critical condition, you know, who knows what's going to happen 2 and 3 days from now as they recover. Alcohol related in the other one. This one, all indications to be alcohol related.
child on boat.
Child, well, pregnant, not having the baby yet, but it's probably the worst boat wreck I've seen in 3 years, and that was a little bit before my time. That particular wreck was.
Kind
But
of ironic too with the island, Ayers Island out there. I mean, the Hart's place was palm trees, everything else on the island is a memorial, and they left the island before they had the wreck last night.
That's what they said. Yeah, that's what they said. They were coming from the island.
So what happened? Where are we going to do the investigation?
Well, I'll subpoena the blood content, the alcohol content of the driver, and of course, if he is under the influence of any kind of narcotics or alcohol, and we're going to refer everything to the district attorney's office, and we will let the district attorney's office to decide what charge they're going to file. I would expect it to go to the grand jury for indictments.
Damage the boat. You ever seen anything like that?
Now, everything in that boat that is could be screwed down, or all the seats, the motor, the engine itself, without the transom hitting anything, without the outdrive hitting anything, is actually ripped from the motor supports, and all the chairs are ripped up out of the floor, and I mean, you can see it's just totally the metal steering wheel is complete circular, is bent in half, and then torn from its brackets.
What about when they flew out? How far would you estimate they went the distance?
Oh, from what they're telling us, and just putting the naked eye on it, is 120 to 140 feet.
That they flew out.
That they flew out post impact, after they flew out over the top of the boat.
And then basically walked away.
Yeah, those two walked away. They were here in the office earlier, and of course they're stiff and sore and everything, but they're not. They don't have any broken bones or any other injuries.
What kind of comments are they about flying?
They said everybody had been, you know, of course the driver and all, that they had been partying and drinking, and that they just didn't see the wall. He said that by the time that someone hollered, stop, and before he could throttle back, they were in the air.
Is the driver familiar with the lake?
He seems to be. He grew up here, and so he works on some of the boats there in Bentwater. He is. I'm being told he's a boat mechanic there, and that's where they had launched from. So I would say he'd be familiar with the lake.
And the driver was which one?
The driver was Joshua Butler.
Take care of them out here.
Oh, Gary, what is your last name?
Lewis.
In Towboats USA.
I'm Captain Gary Lewis with Towboats US.
Right. Tell me, last night you heard the call go out on this boat. Tell me what happened.
We arrived on scene and oversaw the situation, and then put a pump in the boat to keep it afloat while they were getting the hurt and injured out of it. And then I secured all the leaks that I could, and then we salvaged the vessel and brought it in.
What, have you ever seen one damaged like this?
Oh yeah.
Which just recently, I mean recent, or are you talking about what the Hart broke several years ago?
Well, since '99, I've seen them hit the dam. I've seen them hit the bridge several times. I was first on scene at the Hart family wreck, and it's a bunch of them ever since.
What about damage or injuries compared to the Hart family? I mean, you had several deaths there, though. But I mean, as far as
well, the crumple zone was basically the same, except this one hit a square bulkhead and just, and stopped the vessel, and everything in it just crumbled. I mean, it's sure enough wreck.
Now the pump was just basically keeping the water out of it, able to get the victims
Exactly.
out.
I kept the vessel afloat while they got the people out of it.
You pretty much work this lake what, 24/7 almost?
24/7, yes sir.
Just a towboat service?
Yes sir. We have a licensed captain on duty 24 hours a day.
Okay.
I just happened to be him last night.
Okay.